everybody. What's happening, everyone? This is cool. We're back. We're back right here where we belong. That's how I see it. I'm glad you're here. Welcome. This is Green Bean, and you are watching GreenBean's Jets Pod, episode 66. Order 66. You know what Order 66 was, everybody? Remember? Very, very sad order. A lot of our hearts were broken. Changed everything in the galaxy far, far away. Order 66. So, that's where we are. This is episode 66. And again, I am glad you're here. Welcome to the show. This is where we get into all sorts of fun stuff. And we do it a little bit more calm, right? It's a long form vid. This is the podcast. So I can take as long as I want to be as wordy as I'd like. You know, I have words. Sometimes too many. But anyway, GreenBean's Jets Pod. And I want to say hello to everybody listening in audio format. That has skyrocketed over the past few weeks. And I want to thank all you guys for being here. If I'm being real honest, that's where I get most of my podcasts into. I do watch videos and such on YouTube, of course, but when I'm just looking for a podcast, whether it be Rogan, whether it be Just Jets, or I even do Cool Your Jets, the JetX guys, I do a few. Paul Esden Jr., Boy Green's Jet Zone, I do that one. But I listen in the car. That's what I do. I put it on. It's one of my favorite things to do. I put a podcast on. I'm not in the car for a minute, and I already have a podcast on. So that is something I relate to, and I'm glad that you guys are with me. Welcome to all the new people. If you guys have not heard the spiel, well, here it goes. If you're watching this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. That tells YouTube that you like it, and that goes a long way. You'd be surprised if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. That's even more important. It's that really attractive, bright red button.
The jolly candy-like button!
That says subscribe. You go ahead and hit that. Then you hit the bell notification, and YouTube will be sure to tell you every single time that I go live, that I put out something new, and it happens almost daily. We're always throwing cool new stuff out to you guys, so this will allow you to be included right away and be notified for all of our happenings here at Green Bean Jets Fans YouTube page. It's really appreciated as well. And on top of that, if you guys are looking for more exclusive content, really a lot of access to me, and we do all kinds of hangouts and all that stuff, watch classic Jets games, do positional breakdowns, fun stuff. If you want to get in on that and join the beanbaggers, all you need to do is click on that link in the description of my video. It's way up top. Click on that. Join in the fun. And that is greatly appreciated at Patreon as well. So there we go. So guys, I got a new mattress this week, and I'm so excited about it, I made a short video for you guys. We all know that moment when it's time to get a new mattress, but we hate going to mattress stores. The good news is that NOVILLA Mattress will send one right to your home. All you have to do is take it out of the box, unroll it, pop the little shrink wrap action, and watch it come to life. Look at that thing. It's alive! Within minutes, it's a soft, fluffy mattress. Made from eco-friendly materials, this affordable mattress is risk-free with a 30-day sleep trial and a 10-year warranty. NOVILLA Mattress is suitable for all sleep positions and offers excellent motion isolation. Take advantage of their Easter sale going on right now and take an additional 5% off by using the promo code GreenBean. NOVILLA Mattress. We got an interesting week. There's lots of, I don't want to call it tension, but people's nerves get more and more triggered right around now. We are in the final 2 weeks. When I'm recording this, it is April 9th. By the time you're listening to it, it'll be April 11th. And that means 17 days to the NFL draft. Yeah! Okay. This can be the best time we have all year. You know, hey man, sometimes we go into the season, we're really psyched up, and what happens? Starts early, doesn't it? It starts early. Ah, shit. We have no offensive line. Ah, shit, this kid's not as good as I thought he was going to be. Oh, no, 4 interceptions in one game. So that stuff happens. So a lot of the time, especially with this last decade of ours, the draft was kind of the highlight of the whole season. Now, we don't want to think that that's the way it's going to be moving forward, right? We think we might have the makings of a nice, solid core, a foundation. That might be true. We also think that, look, we can't predict how it's all going to go, but it does look like we're running things in a completely different way. Completely different. We're not out there overpaying former stars to try to continue their previous glory for a turd team like the Jets. Like, we're not doing that anymore. It seems like we have a more respected organization, from Joe Douglas to Phil Savage to Chad Alexander, all the way down to our coaching staff. I almost said Rex Ryan. Robert Saleh, and his crew. Robert Saleh is a very, very well-respected coach in the NFL. And Mike LaFleur looks like he might actually have a brain in his head, some offensive creativity. We saw it last year. It didn't start that way, but we did see it as the season progressed. We saw some really exciting stuff, highlighted by a damn hook and ladder. Can you believe that? So we feel pretty good. But the cool thing about this particular draft is that we have more assets than we've had in a long time. Now, what's our big bad one, right? It's the year 2000. The Bill Parcells, Al Groh-led Jets. Bill Parcells was no longer the coach. Al Groh was. But Bill Parcells was running the operation, kind of like a GM, but he was the president. He was the president. Bill Parcells. So that's what he was doing. But they made some moves. One is they obviously had their first round draft pick, right? We had our first round pick. Then Bill Belichick was supposed to be the coach. He decided not to be the coach. So we got a first round pick from the Patriots for Bill Belichick going over there and being their head coach. So we got a pick from that. Then he traded, which at the time infuriated me. I was so upset that they made this trade. They traded Keyshawn Johnson, the best wide receiver that we've had here in a long, long time. We used the first overall pick on him a few years earlier. He was everything that we wanted him to be. Great blocker, great catcher, everything you wanted him to be. He was great, except for that friggin' book that he wrote. Other than that, and his relationship with Wayne, off the field, on the field they were great. Off the field, so there was some baloney, but as far as the player, Keyshawn Johnson was everything that we wanted, and Bill Parcells decided to trade him. Why? Well, because his value was at a peak, very similar to what Joe Douglas did with Jamal Adams, right? So we saw Keyshawn Johnson, they traded 2 first-round picks for a wide receiver. Now, especially back then, that wide receiver values are exploding over these last few years, especially this year. But back then, getting 2 first-round picks for a wide receiver was not exactly an everyday occurrence. So Bill Parcells saw the opportunity and got the 2 first-round picks. So that gave us 4. As we know, we took Sean Ellis, John Abraham, Chad Pennington, and Anthony Becht, the tight end. Fantastic draft class and all that. Then we got Lavernius Coles in the 3rd. Other than that, not much to write home about with that class. But hey, we got 5 really, really solid contributors, some of them great. So since then, we have not seen a season, or a draft, I should say, where the Jets had 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. Now, and it's not just the rounds themselves, it's where they are. We have a top 5 pick, a top 10 pick, then a top 5 second, and a top 10 second. Now, that's done in a similar capacity. Joe Douglas saw what his team looked like. These are not the guys. I'm not going to be able to move forward and achieve the goals I want to with guys like Jamal Adams, Sam Darnold, Chris Herndon as at the forefront. These are not pillar players. So he looked at where their value was. Jamal Adams' value was at a peak. He was a 2-time All-Pro. He was unhappy, disenchanted, all that sort of stuff. So he was never going to have a higher value than that moment. So Joe Douglas took advantage of it. Sam Darnold was interesting because we heard all kinds of rumors that he was, a lot of teams were offering a first, and then it went to a third, and then it went to what we ultimately did, the second, fourth, and sixth. Now that's pick 38 for Sam Darnold up top. So we have 4, 10, 35, and 38. And a lot of people like myself, I know it's just kind of mixing it all around and making things out of nothing. But I look at 35 and 38 as first round picks. I know they're not. I get it. You don't have to yell at me. Somebody yelled at me last week. He said, they're called second round picks because they're in the second round. I get it. I know what you're saying. But I don't care. They're firsts for me. So I like that. Plus, they give you the ability to hop back into the official first round if you want to with not much return. You don't have to break the bank to hop skiddly-doo right over the little imaginary boundary there to get into the first round. So here we are. We do have reasons to be excited because not only that, we do have a third, which is a high third. Then we got 2 fourths and 2 fifths. So what does that all mean? Well, it's the same amount of picks, you know what I mean? If we had a fifth and a sixth and all, or sixth and a seventh. But what Joe Douglas did was he made some moves, Avery Williamson, Steve McClendon, those types of things, and Chris Herndon, and made those sevenths and sixths into fourths and fifths. So we still have the same picks, but we have them higher in the draft, which is an equally valuable move, guys. I mean, we kind of don't talk about that one with as much vigor as we do the first and the seconds. And look, you can understand why, but those are also very, very valuable moves. A lot of times our staff in the years past, we just did not value mid to late round picks. The one I like to use all the time is with Rex Ryan and his sixths and sevenths. I mean, he literally took Taj Boyd in the 6th round because he was his son's friend at Clemson. Taj Boyd, as we know, was the quarterback that threw the ball to Sammy Watkins and all. So you'd think that he might have an NFL career, but everybody knew he was an undraftable player and that he was never going to make it in the NFL. So that was a bone. He took a 6th round pick and gave his son's friend a bone so he can have the experience of being picked. And he was cut before the season started. So that's the kind of stuff. Like Joe Douglas looks at 6th round picks and says, you know what? I'm going to get Michael Carter. Fifths and stuff too, right? I'm going to get Bryce Hall. I'm going to get Brandon Eccles. That's what I'm going to do with my 5th and 6th round picks. Now, as we know, these are contributors, and that's the way that it should be. So the same thing applies to being able to squeeze the lemon with your 6ths and 7ths. Now, look, we all want 6th and 7ths, right? We want them. But if I can turn my 6th into a 4th and my 7 into a 5th, dude, ain't nothing wrong with that. So it is an exciting season. It's an exciting time of year. But that doesn't leave us without happenings. We still have free agency. We have the comp picks and all this stuff that we could be focusing on right around now at the same time as we start to, kind of wind down our player evaluations. We all kind of have the guys we love, Like I love Leo Chanel. I started this with, Greg Lloyd. Yeah. If it was Greg Lloyd, with Devin Lloyd, Nakobe Dean, and I never stopped liking them. I even like Brandon Smith and Christian Harris and Chad Muma's kind of come up and Asamoah. So I like these guys. But Leo Chanel, who I liked early because of some recommendations to look at him, but he was kind of in the 4th, 5th-ish range, I thought. And then slowly but surely, I fell deeper and deeper in love with this guy, right? I also like, Rashad White, the running back, out of Arizona State. Like, I like these guys. And you start to, get your favorites and everything. And that's what happens around now. But at the same time, there's all kinds of stuff happening that we can focus on. And for that, before I get too far into it, let's dive into the news of the week. So what's the big one this week? I think, and it's not only this week, but it kind of came to a pinnacle. It came to a head this week, I think. And that is the Zach Wilson Revival Tour. He's out there traveling around the country, hanging out with his skill players in all different locations and trying to get some of this rapport jump-started, right? Try to get this understanding of the offense so we're speaking the same language, so we understand the vernacular. There are no questions. Trying to get that done. Now, as we know, he went to Nashville and met with Corey Davis back, March 22nd. He went and met with Corey Davis in Nashville, which is interesting because I happened to be driving through Nashville that day, and I put out some tweets, and nobody got back to me. I mean, you guys got back to me, but nobody, Zach Wilson, Corey Davis, the Jets, nobody's, said, hey, here's where they're going to be. Go over there. Sad to say. But they did, in fact, meet there and worked together, Corey Davis and Zach Wilson. Then there was the Scottsdale, Arizona, which is an interesting one because this one kind of had some frustrating bubbles come out of it, right? We had some issues. Now, the way that it started was there was a tweet put out by guess who? Okay, I won't even tell you who. I probably will, but not right now. So there was a guy who put out a tweet, and he mentioned some wide receivers that are going to be there. He mentioned Elijah Moore. He mentioned DJ Montgomery. He even mentioned Jeff Smith. But he didn't mention anyone else. He didn't mention a few players. And the way that he did it was he said, and a small group of wide receivers. Now, why would he do that? Now, there's two reasons. One could be that he didn't get the info and he doesn't know all the guys. You can be fair and give him that. More likely, though, he knew that if he leaves one guy out, people are going to get all crazy and start texting and tweeting and talking, and that ups his profile. You know what I mean? You guys know. I mean, we're not stupid, are we? I think we know, maybe we're not stupid, but we still find it almost impossible not to dive into the pool with no water in it, right? Like, we just keep doing this. So it was, I think, purposely left out because we would start an uproar. Now, Zach Wilson, if you remember correctly, came back and said, people were saying it's so disappointing that Denzel Mims isn't going to be there. Why wasn't he mentioned? He's the one who needs to work more than anybody, blah, 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 blah. And Zach Wilson said, well, who the hell do you think's in this small group of wide receivers? It's our wide receiver. It's Mims. So he kind of, he nipped that one in the bud and took care of it. And since then, we got to see some reports, some pictures, photos, a little clippage. We got to see that these guys were working out together. And Elijah Moore was there. Michael Carter was there. Obviously, Zach Wilson, some other guys, DJ Montgomery, Jeff Smith, maybe even Tariq Black. So our guys were together. It was the largest group of them. And we got to see Denzel Mims half naked, okay? Yeah, you don't want to say it that way. That's fine. Shorts, socks, shoes, half naked, okay? Well, we got to see him without his shirt on, and guess what? He looked ripped. Ripped, okay? He looked ripped. Now, there was a report coming out that said this wasn't really just a hangout session. This wasn't any little fooling around. They're putting in work. They're there working their asses off. They're trying to maximize the benefit that they can get out of this time. It's not just a hangout. They're actually there to put in work. Zach Wilson is trying to become the entrenched leader of his team. He wants to really start to build this chemistry with the guys on his team. And look, guys like Elijah Moore, Denzel Mims is a question mark, right? But we know guys like Elijah Moore, Michael Carter, Corey Davis, Braxton Berrios, these guys are on the team. He needs to make this work with this particular collection of players. It has to happen. So now he did that. Now he also went to Miami and spent real quality time at Miami U. At the U, they went to the Hurricanes facility, and he spent time with Braxton Berrios and Michael Carter. So really interesting. Berrios was interviewed after it, and he let us know too, like, this isn't, again, we're not just meeting up to have a good time here. He said every route we run, we get to talk about it, the concept and the objective. It's not just a 3-step slant or a 10-yard in cut. It's our terminology. We're lining up in our formations, and we're going through mental reps that will carry over into OTAs, into training camp, and into the season as well. It's a huge advantage, and we were able to be very detailed in our approach in what we are trying to work on each day. So look, this is one of those things when we talk about the character of a player, right? Clearly, you don't want any guys who, have illegal stuff. Like, look, you want to try to avoid guys that could be a potential problem, right? That's really easy, surface level 101 type of stuff. But underneath all that, when we're talking about the character of players, and I bring this up all the time with you guys, what we're really looking at is when they have opportunities like this, what are they actually doing? Is it just like going through the motions? Is it optics? Or are they taking this and they're trying to maximize the time that they do have with each other, trying to take every advantage that they can have to go into OTAs, to training camp, into this season, to have a more lethal offense, to have more potential with their team, right? So, and that's the thing too, the other side of that is when the going gets rough, poor character guys, they pack it in. When the going gets rough, they get running, all right? What we saw last year was a tumultuous season. You guys know it started with week 1 and it started before week 1 with the Carl Lawson injury and the Jared Davis injury and on and on and on and on. And it went all the way through this season. And we saw a team that stayed together throughout it all. That's the difference. Where could you imagine if Jamal Adams was on that team? Imagine we didn't trade him and he was on that team last year. What leaks do you think we would have heard? A player speaking on the condition of anonymity. You know what I mean? Like that's the stuff we're not seeing anymore. So when you look at this little tour that Zach Wilson went on, it's not the same as Jets West. Remember Mark Sanchez used to do the thing where all the guys flew out there and spent a couple days with him. Now that was beneficial too. So it's not the same, but I think it could be very, very beneficial. And it's good to see our young quarterback taking this by the horns and going out there and spending time with his skill players. As much time as you can. As we know, he's working with John Beck in the offseason and all that stuff as well. The Jets did a nice little maneuver there by letting Beck go off the staff because he's not allowed to work with team coaches. So Beck is actually his private football coach, even though he was on the Jets team last year. So they did a nice little, I think they found a loophole there, which I think is great. It's another smart, do it. If you can, squeeze that type of stuff through, by all means, go ahead and do that. But at the end of the day, guys, it's really good to see these guys working in the offseason and working together in the offseason. And even on top of that, it's good that they actually get along. It's not required. It's not required. But if you have that chemistry on multiple layers, it just serves. It serves to increase the potential of the relationship on the field if there's a good relationship off the field. Look, in Berrios, he's down there with Zach Wilson and Michael Carter. When he gave that interview toward the end of the season, somebody asked him, if you could go on a road trip and take 3 players from your team, who are the 3 players you're taking? He said, Mike F. White, Zach Wilson, and Michael Carter. Those are my favorite guys on the whole team. So when they're down there working in Miami outside of Mike F. White, the band was together, man. So that shows like they sincerely like each other on top of that. And again, not required, but I think it's still a positive going into the season. So dovetailing with the news of the week, we're going to talk about a little bit more specific situation that we got brewing right now. This was kind of an interesting week for a few guys from the 2020 draft class. And we're going to explore this and how it could potentially impact how we manage and view the draft. What is it that we need? A lot of Jets fans, you see, we want Icky. Ike Mekwonu with the 4th overall pick. Well, why would we do that? So we got to look at what this situation really looks like with our 2020 draft class, because now we're going into that pivotal 3rd year. The rule of thumb, I know a lot of Jets fans don't like to wait this long. That's kind of it's a thing we do. But the general rule of thumb is that after their third year, you can actually evaluate a draft class. Now, this is an interesting draft class because the 2020 draft class started off in just the weirdest way ever. Okay, we know that. Number one, we had shitbag Adam Gase and his whole thing, right? So he was an equal GM. So we started with all that weirdness. And that was the last year of that. As we know, after that season, Gase was let go. Joe Douglas was made the sole general manager, and here we are, right? So we started with that. But on top of that, it was the first draft class in NFL history that didn't have a training camp and they didn't have a preseason. Okay, so that's the way it started. Again, you got the whole mixed signal thing. Joe Douglas in his first draft. Adam Gase is still here. He's a GM too. And we had all that. But then again, they started the season without a training camp and without preseason, which is, okay, weird. Now, our particular draft class, we had lots and lots of injuries and sicknesses and weird stuff going into that season. And that season was terrible. You guys remember. I mean, we had no wins going into like the third to last week of the season or whatever it was. You know, we were, tank for Trevor. You know, don't forget this. That's where we were. And I wasn't only just tank for Trevor. I was tank to ensure that Adam Gase was fired. I didn't want there to be any potential thread that we can grab onto that said, maybe we keep him for one more year. I wanted him gone. I wanted there not to even be a discussion about it. So if we lost out 0-16, that was good for me because not only did we get the number one pick and all that jazz, but I wanted to make sure Adam Gase was being let go. So we had all that. So that's all the kind of, there's a lot there to that 2020 draft class. But even stating all that, you still should wait for year 3 to really evaluate these guys. Now, look. They have had their issues, right? They've had their issues. Most of them haven't done much. Bryce Hall is a 5th-round pick, and he's kind of been the most solid. He's the only player on the Jets that made it through 17 weeks of an NFL season last year, so there's that, which is really funny because the reason he slid to the 5th is because he had injury concerns. So it's like, I'm telling you, it's a wacky world, man, and you never know what's up or down half the time. So Bryce Hall slides to the 5th because everybody was concerned about his injury, and he's the one guy out of the whole friggin' class that made it through 17 games in his sophomore season. But so you have Bryce Hall, and you have some undrafted free agents that are also kind of doing well. You got Bryce Huff, Javelin Guidry. I thought that Lamar Jackson could have been something, but as we know, he was poached. I think it was the Bears, maybe Browns, somebody like that. So they took Lamar Jackson, the cornerback. But I still think that he could have a solid career, but either way, he's not a Jet, so who cares? But then we had guys like Braden Mann. Braden Mann's a damn good punter, so we're good with him. Jets fans, I think, a lot of people are giving up on him real quick. I don't understand why. He got his plant leg ripped off last year. He needed to heal that, came back with that super crazy metal brace on his leg, and slowly but surely, he started getting back. So I think Braden Mann's fine. He's going to be here a long time. But Bryce Hall and Braden Mann were the end of the draft class, right? They were the end of that draft class. Now, as we kind of slink upward, you had the forever aggravating 4th round. Right, our 4th round started with LaMichael Pirine, then it went to James Morgan, and then it went to Cam Clark. Now, Cam Clark, as we know, sad to say, he did not have injury concerns in college, comes in the NFL, and has been injured the entire time. And last year, sad to say, he hurt his spine. They actually had to shut down practice, and they didn't know if he was going to walk again. So they thought he might be paralyzed. So he was able to get his motor functions back, which is obviously a positive, but he ended up retiring from football. So it's a bummer. It's a bummer on numerous reasons. I'm sure he's very, very disappointed, but you got to be grateful that you're able to get your feeling back in your extremities, right? So James Morgan, whatever, that was a stupid pick. We all hated it from the word go. And LaMichael Pirine, who I still think can be an NFL running back. I don't know what happened, but we'll see. But we'll just leave him off and call him we'll just say he's going to go. All right, but then you start to get into the 3rd round. Now, the 3rd round, we see guys like Ashton Davis and Jabari Zuniga. That was our 3rd round. We had 2 3rd-round picks that year. So we took Ashton Davis and Jabari Zuniga. Now, what have they done? Outside of the injuries, not much. I mean, they've definitely been injured. Ashton Davis, who I think this coaching staff is not done with, they seem to like him. He did pull together 2 interceptions last year when he was able to come back from injury and play, but you guys know as well as I do, he looked kind of lost a lot of the time. What do we all say about Ashton Davis? It takes the worst angles, right? So who knows? Maybe he can get that. I mean, he's a super crazy athletic guy. You know, I don't know. He hits hard. So we'll see what happens with Ashton Davis. I'm not holding out too much hope, but I think he could be on the team. For maybe he'll be our backup for a long time, but I think that they were hoping he'd be a starter. So that would be a disappointing one. Jabari Zuniga was able to come in and get 1 sack, 1 forced fumble last year with a smattering of tackles. But again, he's been disappointing as well. Now, I loved his college tape, but the knock on Jabari Zuniga coming in was injury. That was his thing. He couldn't seem to stay healthy for very long, and we took a swing at that, and that's been our experience with him. This guy, if he's not already on the outside looking in, this is going to be his final shot, in my opinion. Like, if he doesn't put up at least serviceable numbers this year, we're going to see Jabari Zuniga let go, or we're going to move on from him in some capacity. But the sad thing is that Jabari Zuniga is actually a very talented edge rusher. I mean, should be a part of that rotation. He could play the Bryce Huff role, or, he should be able to do that by now. So we'll see what happens with him. Ashton Davis, I think, is going to be here. I don't think he curbs any plans. Like, if we're looking at his safety, I don't think Ashton Davis's presence would lead you not to take a guy because you think the position is filled, but I do think he's going to be here. Zuniga, a little bit more of a question mark. Now let's get into the second round. Who's our second round pick? Denzel Mims, the big 6'3" wide receiver, runs 4.38 speed, high pointer, fantastic hitch routes. He has a decent repertoire of routes that he can run, but he's not exactly a precise route runner. But I will say that he's a better route runner than people give him credit for. And when you look at some of the tape on him and what he was able to do, again, he knows how to get open. He is able to get open, and there are some routes that he runs exceptionally well. And I think this coaching staff, even including the food poisoning and the COVID and all the stuff that is real, and it's a part of this little cake we're making here about Denzel Mims, on top of that, I don't think that they took the right tact with him. Like, rather than making him, learn 3 different positions, they probably should have just found out what he did well, start there, and let's just move forward with that. Use him if it's 10 plays a game. Use him 10 plays a game. He's going to be able to get open, catch the ball. He's good yak. So anyway, I don't think that this first-year coaching staff did the right method, applied the right method where it was with Denzel Mims. I just don't think that's the case. Now, all of that said, the end of last year, Denzel Mims looked downright lost. Whether it's the sicknesses and whatever, or he's just overwhelmed, maybe he got disenchanted, we don't know what it is. But the bottom line here is, no matter what it was with Denzel Mims, no matter what it was, it's the outlier. Okay, last year is the anomaly. He had 3 pretty much 60 and up seasons in college as far as catches. He had 2 of those with over 1,000 yards. He came in his rookie year. He did fine, did very well, made some very impressive catches. Don't forget, we had major quarterback woes at that time, but he did very well his rookie season when he was able to come in. So there's never been a knock about his work ethic, about his attitude, about his intelligence. It's never been there. So whatever it is, last year was the anomaly. Now, what does that mean for us moving forward? What does it mean? Well, it probably, just like I said with Ashton Davis, it's probably not going to keep you from bringing in a guy if you think he can help the team, like he's super talented, best player on the board. I don't think that he would stop them from getting a player like that. At the same time, I don't think that they're going to feel the same urgency that a lot of Jets fans feel right now. The other thing with Denzel Mims is they've kind of put out a lot of positive press on him this week. We had the Zach Wilson quarterback tour going on. Denzel Mims was there. He looked great. He worked hard, all that sort of stuff. But in addition to that, Joe Douglas went out of his way to praise Denzel Mims, and Robert Saleh called him Mimsy. Mimsy. So again, I don't know if you're planning on cutting somebody, I don't know. Mimsy is the word I'd use. We don't know what it means, but they both spoke positively about Denzel Mims. We want to remember his athleticism, what he really brings to the table. Again, I don't think anyone on this side of it in support of Denzel Mims is taking away what we all watched last year. We saw it. Especially that last 4 or 5 games of the year, he looked like he was lost, like something was wrong. Now, why didn't they, try to address it? We don't know. We don't know the specifics of what happened. We do know that he got COVID midway through the season, so who knows how that affected him, whatever. They might have just put him out there. He gets a penalty, like, get out of here. I mean, you're not there. You're not there. We have to push reset with you. So we don't know, but I want to point out a couple of things. One is his RAS score. Now, his relative athletic score. Now, what does that mean? Relative athletic score is like a combination of all their combine drills and what they can really offer you. They just look at it as a collection, right? Now, Denzel Mims, as we know, is 6'3". He ran a 4.38 40. Do you realize how ridiculous that is? For a 6'3" guy to run a 4.38, that's a sub 4.3. Like, we'd even call it 4.4 and it would still be considered excellent. So when you look at his overall grade, the top score is a 10, right? We see guys like Jelani Woods getting straight 10s, which is just incredible. But Denzel Mims has a 9.75. His explosion grade is considered elite. He had a 38.5-inch vertical, 10'11" broad jump, which shows his, that's the explosion. That's the bottom half, his legs. That's excellent. That's almost 11 feet. So again, 9.72. His shuttle was 4.43. That's the one that's a little bit low, but his 3-cone drill is very good too. Again, you're looking for something 9.5, under 7 seconds. I'm sorry, 6.5 under 7, really. So he had an okay agility grade. And look, we know that. He's a 6'3" wide receiver. He's not known for precision. That's just not his game. But again, the big one is the 4.38 40, but his 10-yard split is actually much better than you would think for a long strider like him. He's the kind of guy, we were talking about it on the Thursday Thick of It this week, about we were comparing his running style, his speed, to a guy like Brad Smith. Remember Brad Smith? He was our kick returner. He ran our Wildcat for us. Very, very successful for us. But he almost looked like he was moving slow because he had these really long strides. But once he got going, he was like a gazelle. He was just gone. You couldn't catch him. Once he got up to speed, you could not catch that guy. And that's kind of a similar way that Denzel Mims goes about it. Now, when you look at his 10-yard split, it's actually a little bit better than you would think for a guy with that style of running. He has a 1.54 second 10-yard split. That's 0 to 10 yards. Boom. A second and a half to get to 10 yards. Not too bad. So again, guys, we just want to look at what our potential is here. I don't think anybody is saying that Denzel Mims should be our number 1 wide receiver right now. In truth, I think no matter how you slice it, he's got to work his way back up. Start at wide receiver 5 or whatever it is and earn your reps. We saw him in preseason last year. He looked very good before the food poisoning and everything. He even asked to be the gunner on special teams. He was trying, he was doing stuff, and he looked good. Remember how hard he was to take down? I remember the Giants game, I think it was. It took 8 guys to bring him down. He got an extra 20 yards and got the first down. So this is the kind of player that we have. Now, here's how I think it's going to impact our draft. Again, do I think that we're not going to take anybody because of him? Probably not. But it can affect who we take in this draft. Now, who's wide receiver 1? Essentially, Jameson Williams. I don't think, if he didn't have that torn ACL at the end of the season, I don't think too many people would argue that Jameson Williams is wide receiver 1 in this class. He's the closest guy in this class to the guys that were at the top of the last couple classes. Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, those types of guys, those types of impactful guys. Jameson Williams is the closest that you're going to get to that in this draft class. Now, there are other guys that might be argued, maybe wide receiver 1. You got guys who like Chris Olave, who I happen to like a whole bunch. Garrett Wilson, even guys like Drake London, right? But Jameson Williams would be, I think, the consensus number 1 wide receiver in this draft class, but he has that torn ACL. Now, if this staff believes that Denzel Mims can work his way from 5 to 4, maybe even to 3, if they think that he can do that, they think he's showing the effort, they already know his abilities there, they've kind of found an understanding with one another on how he needs to be coached and all that kind of stuff. If they feel confident in him, rather than taking another wide receiver, a Garrett Wilson, a Chris Olave, maybe, just maybe, they do swing for the fences and they grab Jameson Williams, who's probably going to miss a portion of this season. They say he's healing faster than expected. Fantastic. But more than likely, he's going to miss training camp, and therefore he's going to miss a nice chunk of the season. But if you feel like Denzel Mims can be solid support for Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Braxton Berrios, if you feel that Denzel Mims can do that, then taking Jameson Williams might be the move if he's there at 10. Now, there is the potential that maybe the Falcons grab him. I don't think so, though, but it's possible. So if Jameson Williams makes it to 10, maybe the Jets go ahead and grab the number 1 wide receiver in the draft and forego the injury concerns, overlook them, because Denzel Mims. That's where it really comes into play. And think about this. Best case scenario, Denzel Mims comes back and he's the guy that we thought he'd be. You got Elijah Moore, you got Braxton Berrios, and now you got Jameson Williams. If they wanted to, they could release Corey Davis next year after this season with no fuss, no muss. And then you got an Elijah Moore, Jameson Williams, Braxton Berrios, Denzel Mims wide receiver core. Not so shabs. If they're all playing to their potential, dude, that is a slam dunk wide receiver core. So there you go with the Denzel Mims piece. Now let's go to our first round pick. The big man himself, Mekhi Becton. Oof. This guy, what a polarizing character. And I gotta tell you, I didn't think he would be. I knew that there would always be the section of fans that thought taking Tristan Wirfs at that point was the smarter move. And I don't think too many people argued that it was at least the safer move when we did that in the draft. Don't forget, Jedrick Wills and Andrew Thomas were already gone. So we had our choice between Tristan Wirfs, a right tackle, and Mekhi Becton, a left tackle. Joe Douglas chose Mekhi Becton, which everybody knew was the riskier pick. Higher ceiling, lower floor. Tristan Wirfs is going to come in. He's super athletic. He's going to give you that right tackle. Could potentially move over to left tackle, but he's going to come in and he's going to give you exactly what you expect. Joe Douglas swung for the fence with his first pick. 367 pounds when drafted. 6'7" animal, right? Pushing trucks around and all that kind of stuff. Now, he played his rookie year. He started 14 games for us. He had that shoulder thing that, the rumor, Gase put him back in before he should have, and he aggravated it. But we saw Mekhi Becton play through injury a couple times, too. Why? Because he wanted to get the hell out there and help his team. So he had a very, very strong rookie year. A lot of us thought that he should have been considered for the Pro Bowl, and we weren't alone. There was lots of people around the country that thought Mekhi Becton should be considered for the Pro Bowl in his rookie year. He did end up getting injured toward the end of the season, and we lost him. And then week 1 this year, he gets rolled on, and he's out for the year. I think the only problem with that injury is the timeline that they gave us. If they would have said week 1, he's out for the year, there would never be a qualm. There would have never been an issue. But they told us we'd get him back in 8 weeks. So therefore, when he didn't come back in 8 weeks, here come the boo birds. Here comes the stuff, right? So I think it's been interesting to watch the handling of the Mekhi Becton thing over these past few months. Now, number one, I got to tell you, if you're one of those Jets fans going to our players' pages and ripping them, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to say, you're an asshole. I just want to tell you that. You might not know you're an asshole, but you are. I'm going to tell you, you are an asshole. Now, having issues with players, never a problem. You can feel any way that you want. But going to our own players' page and calling them names, fat, you're a bust, whatever it is, dude, that is absolutely outside of the normal paradigm of being a fan. You should not be doing that. You are an asshole. Okay? I'm not going to waver from that stance. That's where I stand. You're an asshole and you shouldn't be doing that. Now, that said, there are other fans who are kind of having some fun with Mekhi Becton and it's going back and forth. Now, a lot of times you can see guys get personally offended by that stuff, but we're not seeing that with Mekhi Becton. We're seeing a playful handling of it, which, in my opinion, is really refreshing to see. You almost forget how much of a jokester Mekhi Becton was when he came here. Remember, there was the pictures with him and Quinnen, and he was busting Quinnen Williams balls because he couldn't like make a scream, make a yell. Remember that? Quinnen's like, he's too sweet of a guy to do that. Mekhi Becton was playing with him, and he's always known as like the jokester. He's a good guy to have around. Everybody loves him. Everybody loves Mekhi Becton. But here we are, because of this injury, we're all of a sudden thinking that he's done. That lots of fans want to trade him. Lots of fans just want to replace him. We just want to replace him. That's the way. Now, and then there's another contingent of fans who would prefer to just get rid of Mekhi Becton and start over with Icky. Like if you have, or Neil or Cross or whoever you like, Penning. But the point is the same. They want to just wash their hands of Mekhi Becton. Now, what have we seen that makes us want to do that? Well, number one, we have all kinds of stories coming out from our beat, and all of them have pretty much been unsubstantiated. First, they talked about plantar fasciitis, which I'm going to remind you guys, I have plantar fasciitis. It has nothing to do with being big and fat, although my wife might tell you differently. Has nothing to do with that, the size of your man breasts. Nothing. I'm telling you right now. It has nothing to do with that. Now, plantar fasciitis is the arch of your foot. That's what it affects. So a lot of times, like when you sleep at night, it'll like cramp up the arch of your foot. And when you walk on it, it can be excruciatingly painful. It really can. So like, especially when you wake up in the morning, my experience was that first 10 minutes, it was like, I'm telling you, it was like I could have used a wheelchair. That's how it felt. As the day went on, it got better and everything. And every day I did this for a couple years. I solved it with a $19.99 boot that I just wore at night. It kept my foot straight and it was gone in 3 days. I held on to the boot for years in case it came back. Never came back. It fixed it. So guys, this isn't one of those things. They made it out to be like Mekhi Becton has these debilitating feet problems. It's not that. It's plantar fasciitis. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people suffer from this. It's one of the things, and it's fixable. It's not a problem. Then we heard that he's eating himself to death. That was actually put in an article. Mekhi Becton, the Jets are concerned that he may be eating himself to death. It's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. Then we heard that he was 40 pounds overweight, which would mean he's 407 pounds. Because we drafted him at 367. They probably want him to be 360, 365. So no matter how you slice it, they're looking at a 400 and change pound guy. That's what they're telling us. So those articles came back. Came out. He's eating himself to death. He is 40 pounds overweight. And what happens in response? Duke Manyweather, his offensive line coach, who's one of the more respected offensive line guys out there as far as the training guys go, he puts out a video of Mekhi Becton working out. He looks ripped. He looks strong. He looks slender as far as a 6'7", 365-pound guy. He looks fantastic. Duke Manyweather says, this is now. You're telling me this guy's 40 pounds overweight? It was completely debunked. For some reason, we've just pushed that aside and we go right back to the initial story and go, he's too fat. He's eating himself to death. He plays too many video games. Whatever the issue is, we've had the opportunity to, if we just opened up what we're digesting as far as Mekhi Becton news, there's been something to counteract all these claims all season long. All season long. Now, what are we seeing now? This is what brings it up. Remember, he's our first round pick in 2020. He's Joe Douglas's first ever draft pick. He's supposed to be able to take that left tackle spot and take it off of our radar as far as a need for years to come. Rookie year looked great. He gets the injury. Here we go. Now, what are we seeing right now? We're going into the draft. There's a nice contingent of people who think that we're going to take Icky. That's the guy that we think we're going to take. If the Jaguars took Icky or something like that, they think that we would pivot and take Evan Neal. Okay, we've seen that from the beginning. It's still out there today. So what are we seeing? We're seeing more and more Mekhi Becton workout videos. And these aren't just like, little workout videos, like 400-pound bench presses, all kinds of stuff, carrying like what looks like thousands of pounds around. We're seeing this guy. Does he look 40 pounds overweight in any of these videos? It almost feels like daily to me. It's probably weekly. We're seeing more Mekhi Becton workout videos come out now than we've seen all year. Does he look 40 pounds overweight to you? Does he look like he's weak? Does he look like he's like he's not engaged, like he's a big fat lazy bum, which a lot of these Jets fans are writing on his timelines? It doesn't look like that to me. So again, we don't know what's going to happen with him, but he's putting in the work and the Jets staff is responding to that positively. Now, how does it impact our draft? If Mekhi Becton cannot play, if Mekhi Becton is not long for the Jets, for whatever the reason, if we're going to trade him, if we don't like him, maybe the coaching staff just doesn't believe in him. I don't know why Saleh wouldn't believe in him. Last time when he played Mekhi Becton, he put his big bad Nick Bosa on him, and Mekhi Becton took him out of the game entirely. He had to move him to the right side. So Saleh should have a nice, clear picture of what it is that Mekhi Becton can do to some of the elite pass rushers out there. But let's say they don't. If they don't like Mekhi Becton for their starting left tackle, or even starting right tackle, if they do the George Fant to the left and Mekhi Becton to the right thing, then you need to take a tackle up top, more than likely, but you could take maybe a Trevor Penning at 35. Might not make it there. It looks like he won't. But maybe take a Trevor Penning, and there's a few other guys that you could take in the second round if you want to do that. But more than likely, you got to take a swing with 4 or 10 at one of these tackles if you think you're going to be able to secure that starting position. So if Mekhi Becton can't play, this changes our entire draft strategy. Entire draft strategy. Now, if he can play, it takes that need off of the front end of your draft, and it literally pushes it to maybe taking a 4th round or 5th round tackle just to keep the pipeline going. Because listen, Joe Douglas likes the guys that we have backing up. Now again, everything could be smokescreen. Everything. But he's on record saying he loves our tackle situation right now. Up top, he's got Mekhi Becton and George Fant. Behind them, he's got Connor McDermott and Chuma Edoga. He just re-signed Greg Senat, who's been in the league for quite a few years. And they can take a 4th, 5th round tackle. There's going to be some good ones there. A guy that needs a year to develop, stick him on your pipeline. Just develop him. And then if George Fant needs to leave, they can't re-sign him for whatever reason, you got a guy who already knows the system and can be plugged in as the starter. But they already like our backup. So if Mekhi Becton is good, it changes everything. Now we don't need to think tackle in that first round. If Denzel Mims and Mekhi Becton are good, it changes the entire framework of what it is that we're doing. So this year 3 for this draft class, which is the rule of thumb timeline to begin with, guys. We want to see 3 years of a draft class before we what? Before we grade it. That's what we want to see. This 3rd year is pivotal for, in particular, Mekhi Becton and Denzel Mims. If last year can be the anomaly, and it is up to this point, for both of them. Mekhi Becton's never lost a season to injury before. Denzel Mims has never had these issues before. Never. So we have to at least consider the idea that we can equate this to a whole batch of noobs working together, not knowing what's up. Then you throw in the sickness, you throw in the Greg Van Roten, you throw it all in, and we have an anomaly. you have an outlier season. If they think that way, it changes everything. And again, maybe you can get wide receiver 1 in this draft class and not be concerned about the ACL because there's no reason to rush him back. You get him week 8, you get him week 10, and then he's yours for the next 5 years. Not a bad situation. So what do you think, guys? Are you done with the 2020 draft class? I'm even curious to see what happens with Pirine and Zuniga. I really am. Telling you, I liked both of them coming out. And again, I don't like to give up on 22, 24-year-old kids in 1 year of bad luck or bad play. I just don't like to do that. I've learned too much. I don't like to do that. So where are you? Do you think the 2020 draft class is a wash? We should just consider none of them are starting and start over? Do you think that a handful of them can come back? What do you think of Bryce Hall? A lot of people want to replace him too with Sauce Gardner. Right? We want to just look at this 2020 draft class in many respects and wipe it. We want to replace Becton. We want to replace Mims. We want to replace Bryce Hall. We want to replace Ashton Davis. A lot of people are even telling me they want to replace Mann. We want a Reza. We want a Reza. Never has there been a greater punter prospect. Hey, I'm just going to tell you. They have a 3-yard difference in their averages. Braden Mann and Matareza coming out in college. I'm just telling you. It's 3 yards. 3 yards difference. There was almost as much hype around Braden Mann when he came out as there is around Matareza. So, are you done? Or do you got hope? Or is it some of them here, some of them are done, some of them are good? Let me know. Let's have this conversation. And let me know in the comments how you feel about the impact of that draft class in particular on our 22 draft class. What do you think? Do we need to replace everybody already? Is it a wash? I need to know. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope that you're having a great week out there. We're getting there, everybody. The draft is coming. It's going to be fun. Don't forget, we're going to watch all 3 days of the draft right at Jets Talk 24/7's channel with the Talkin' Jets panel. That is Ryan, Matt O'Leary, and myself. The whole round 1 will be us. Then the next 2 days, we have every guest you could possibly think of out there. We got them all coming on. We have giveaways. We have everything. The entire draft, we will be right there. Jets Talk 24/7's channel with you. Don't forget to stop by and hang out with us. It's going to be an absolute blast, and we'll watch this draft together and see what we think in real time. Guys, have a great week, and as always, go Jets.